Brad Pitt has officially reignited his bitter legal war with ex-wife Angelina Jolie, filing a new explosive motion that demands access to her private communications with another man. Communications Pitt claims could prove that Jolie deliberately worked against him in the sale of their shared French winery, Chateau Miraval. The new legal documents filed in Los Angeles court expose the next chapter in a battle that has been simmering beneath the surface ever since Jolie sold her share of the Miraval estate, a property the former couple once described as their children's legacy, to the Jolie Group in 2021 without Pitt's knowledge or approval. Brad Pitt is now demanding that Angelina Jolie hand over private text messages and emails exchanged with Alexei Olinik, a powerful executive at Jolie Group, the buyer in the sale. His legal team argues these private communications could contain evidence that Jolie's sale was not only conducted in bad faith, but may have been part of a calculated plan to damage Pitt's stake in the winery and reputation, a move they claim was driven by personal motives tied to their messy divorce. This is not just about business. According to Pitt's filing, this is about betrayal. His legal team insists the sale was more than a financial transaction. It was a retaliatory move made behind closed doors and shrouded in secrecy, and at the center of it all is the quiet but critical role of Olinik, the Jolie executive who Pitt's legal team says refused to cooperate with their previous deposition attempts. They're now seeking court approval to force a remote deposition in Switzerland, where Olinik is currently based, and compel him to testify under oath about his private conversations with Jolie during the months leading up to the sale. In their own words, Pitt's team argues that Jolie and Olinik's communications could reveal a pattern of deceit, showing that Jolie knowingly violated a previous agreement not to sell her stake in the Miraval business without Pitt's consent. According to Pitt, this isn't speculation, it's a calculated effort. The motion claims Jolie was aware that by involving Jolie, she was aligning herself with a party Pitt was already in direct business conflict with, and doing so in a way that not only cut him out of the transaction but undermined years of shared investment and planning. Jolie's team, however, is pushing back. In their response, they accuse Pitt of using the courts as a weapon in what they describe as a vindictive war. They claim Pitt previously insisted Jolie sign a sweeping, overly broad NDA before the sale, something she refused to do, and that he's now trying to use legal tactics to force her into submission post-sale. They argue that the request for her private messages is invasive, excessive, and part of a long pattern of control. But Pitt's attorneys argue the NDA was standard and necessary to protect the business, and that Jolie's refusal to sign it, followed by her sale of the winery stake to Jolie, speaks volumes. The two originally purchased Chateau Miraval together in 2008 for an estimated $25 million. Over the years, they not only maintained the estate but turned it into a booming luxury rosé brand, with Pitt taking the lead in the wine business and branding operations. He claims to have poured years of work into the business, and now says that Jolie's sale to Jolie opened the doors for chaos, making it impossible to run the brand properly and exposing it to outside influence. The sale was conducted in 2021, 5 years after the couple announced their separation, and has since snowballed into one of the most complex and tense legal disputes in Hollywood. While the couple's divorce was finalized in 2024, the legal battle over Miraval continues to drag on. At the heart of Pitt's anger is the claim that Jolie's deal with Jolie wasn't just a breach of their prior agreement, it was a personal betrayal done without warning and potentially designed to provoke or weaken his position. Now, by seeking out the private messages between Jolie and the buyer, Pitt's team is trying to uncover what really went on behind the scenes, and if the court grants Pitt access to Jolie's private communications, it could dramatically shift the direction of the case. According to legal analysts, such a move would be rare and aggressive. It would give Pitt and his lawyers access to Jolie's email and message threads with the Jolie executive, potentially exposing strategy, motive, and intent, or perhaps showing nothing at all. But the fact that Pitt is pushing for it so forcefully suggests that he believes those messages contain more than simple negotiations. In the filing, his lawyers argue that Jolie's actions were malicious and calculated, and that the messages will shed light light on an intentional campaign to harm Pitt's stake in the winery. Jolie's team in response is calling the motion harassment and argues that the demand for private messages crosses a line, not just in business but in privacy. They claim the sale was legal, final, and conducted through proper channels, and that Pitt's attempts to reverse or punish it now are simply about control. They also suggest that the timing of the filing, which comes just weeks after other headlines involving the Jolie Pitt family surfaced, is no coincidence, and accuse Pitt's legal team of trying to manipulate public narrative by generating attention-grabbing court filings. But this isn't the first time control has become a legal issue in their dispute. Jolie's legal team has previously accused Pitt of coercive tactics, particularly around NDAs. One filing from earlier this year claimed that Pitt demanded Jolie sign a mutual non-disparagement agreement that would have barred her from speaking publicly about certain incidents, particularly those tied to the abuse allegations surrounding a 2016 private jet incident. Jolie refused, and in the weeks that followed, she sold her stake in Miraval. Pitt's team says that's exactly the point, that the sale was never about business, but about leverage. They argue that Jolie's decision to sell her stake to one of Pitt's known business rivals wasn't a coincidence, and that it disrupted not just the brand's operations, but the entire ownership structure. The motion also dives into the fact that Jolie Group, through its parent company, Tenute Del Mondo, has since used Jolie's shares to demand changes to the winery's board and branding, moves Pitt says wouldn't have happened if she had honored their original agreement. Now, with this new filing, Pitt is raising the stakes. He wants Jolie's private conversations exposed. He wants the court to force Jolie executive Alexei Olinik to testify, and he's signaling that if those messages show Jolie acted in secret or bad faith, there could be grounds for financial and legal consequences. Whether or not the court grants Pitt's demands remains to be seen, but one thing is clear: the war over Chateau Miraval is far from over. While Brad Pitt's team remains confident that Jolie's private communications will reveal a pattern of manipulation, legal experts caution that gaining access to such personal messages won't be easy. Courts tend to protect private correspondence unless a clear, direct connection to wrongdoing is proven. Still, Pitt's attorneys argue that this is not just about a personal divorce. This is a multi-million-dollar business matter involving strategic interference, and therefore the threshold for discovery must be weighed differently. They also assert that Jolie's sale to Jolie created conflicts of interest. Jolie, which now owns Jolie's shares, has reportedly demanded more access and control over the winery's branding, operations, and future partnerships, moves Pitt believes are diluting the vision and integrity of the brand he helped build. In previous filings, Pitt accused Jolie of having no genuine interest in the winery's business operations before the sale, and claims her stake was passive, used only when convenient. He further alleges she never contributed financially to expanding the wine label, yet made the decision to sell her shares behind his back. This isn't the first time these themes have come up. In past filings, Pitt has stressed that Jolie's Miraval sale came just after she rejected a non-disclosure agreement. That detail, repeated across multiple motions, is something Pitt's lawyers won't let go. They believe Jolie's refusal, followed immediately by her partnership with Jolie, shows deliberate intent. For Angelina Jolie, however, the narrative is much different. She claims the NDA was not simply about business confidentiality, but about her silence. Jolie's attorneys previously submitted evidence suggesting that Pitt's NDA would have limited her ability to speak about past allegations involving their family. She argues she wasn't willing to sell her voice in order to finalize a business transaction. In that context, Jolie has repeatedly stated that the sale of her Miraval shares was done legally, with full rights as a co-owner. She claims that her decision to sell wasn't emotional but strategic, to distance herself from Pitt in every area possible, including financially. But Pitt insists that Miraval wasn't just a brand or a business, it was a legacy. He once referred to the estate as something intended for the kids, a long-term investment meant to be passed down. Jolie's actions, he argues, jeopardized that future and fractured a business they both built from the ground up. It's a classic Hollywood war: wealth, legacy, betrayal, privacy, and control, all boiling over inside inside courtrooms and legal filings. The addition of Alexei Olinik as a figure in this case adds more weight. If the court does compel him to testify, his statements could clarify whether Jolie made promises, coordinated in secret, or acted with knowledge of the disruption this would cause Pitt's position. His refusal to be deposed thus far only adds mystery and pressure. At this stage, both parties appear fully committed to seeing this case through. Pitt wants damages, accountability, and a chance to reverse the sale if possible. Jolie wants the court to recognize that she exercised her rights without any malice or wrongdoing. Neither is backing down. As of now, a judge has not ruled on Pitt's latest request for Jolie's messages. A hearing is expected in the coming weeks. If the court grants the motion, it would allow access to encrypted messages, email exchanges, and potentially phone records related to the sale and its negotiation process. And depending on what's uncovered, this could shift public perception all over again. For now, this case remains one of the most explosive post-divorce legal battles Hollywood has ever seen. It's no longer just about custody or money. It's about power, truth, and control over a story that continues to unfold years after the relationship ended. What's your take on all this? Should Angelina be forced to turn over her private messages? Was this really just a business move? Or is there something deeper going on? Comment your thoughts below, like the video, and hit subscribe if you want more celebrity news. New videos dropping every day.